morning, friends. Stephen Benoon here with Israeli News Live and a very shocking broadcast. President Putin, uh, indirectly has admitted that Iran has a nuclear bomb, asking Iran not to use that nuclear bomb on Israel. Let's start right here, though, with Al Jazeera. Iran issues urgent warning to Israelis, leave Haifa and Tel Aviv. We already have President Trump with his stark warning to Iranians to leave Tehran. And Patrick Lancaster in his broadcast, he's concerned that either the U.S. or Israel one is planning on using a nuke on Tehran. And yet Putin says to the Iranian leader not to use a nuclear weapon on Israel. Let's get right into this.
In capital Tehran. This comes as Israel launched an attack on Iran's cyber infrastructure. Iran says it can only return to diplomacy when Israel ends its attacks, and its senior military commander is calling on Israelis to leave the cities of Haifa and Tel Aviv immediately.
The Iranian armed forces have inflicted heavy blows on the enemy by targeting sensitive and vital objectives. However, the operations carried out so far have merely been warnings aimed at deterrence. A punitive operation will be launched soon. Therefore, residents of the occupied territories, especially Tel Aviv and Haifa, are strongly warned to leave these areas to preserve their lives and not allow themselves to become victims of Netanyahu's animalistic ambitions.
There you have it right there. That is Iran warning for them to leave those two cities. Is it going to be multiple bombs then that come down using missiles that they have that Israel is unable to stop? Well, that still remains to be said. But Putin actually has did a phone call and asked Iran not to launch an attack on Israel, but specifically a nuclear attack. Let's listen in right here.
Not just an ordinary appeal. This appeal came directly from the Russian embassy in Tel Aviv. It was delivered explicitly and openly. This is a reflection of how high Moscow's concern is about the real threat that is now looming over civilians after missiles began hitting residential areas. This step is a strong signal, a signal that Russia considers the situation in Israel to be out of control. And more than that, this can be read as a sharp diplomatic message. A warning that what Israel is doing has crossed the line that can be accepted even by a global power like Moscow. Behind the glare of the world and the loud speeches on the diplomatic stage, a secret conversation took place that was far more decisive. Russian President Vladimir Putin made a direct call to the new Iranian president, Mosad Pezeshkian.
Here it comes.
And the content of the conversation touched on the most sensitive point in this conflict, the possibility of using nuclear weapons. In the tense conversation, Pezeshkian reportedly gave Putin a direct guarantee that Iran would not use nuclear weapons to attack Israel. A statement that, if truly upheld, could be the last straw in the midst of a crisis that was almost out of control.
Let me back that up for you. I want you to hear this for yourself again. Okay?
Mosad Pezeshkian. And the content of the conversation touched on the most sensitive point in this conflict, the possibility of using nuclear weapons. In the tense conversation, Pezeshkian reportedly gave Putin a direct guarantee that Iran would not use nuclear weapons to attack Israel. A statement that, if
would not use nuclear weapons to attack Israel. And how long have we been saying that Iran possesses the ability to use a nuclear weapon? It is not a matter of whether or not they could use it or they may achieve a nuclear weapon, but they already have one. But it's going to get worse. This is why Israel is very concerned. Patrick Lancaster, pretty high strung right here. I left him a message here to try to reach out to me here. Um, I don't know if he will or not, but let me play to you what he says, and he's got a very good observation on this. Listen in.
Ended up killing over 1 million there. We didn't even order or say for an evacuation then. Well, in World War II we did. In Hiroshima, Nagasaki, and other Japanese cities before a nuke was dropped. Is Israel or the United States about to nuke Iran? What's going to happen? Where is this going? And on top of this call for this evacuation, there's an order for U.S. defense groups and forces being deployed to the Middle East. Where is this going? There's a report of, and video evidence of an attack by Israeli forces on the main state television station or media of Iran, where we can see here live on air the station was hit by a strike, and reportedly 18 people were killed. Now
that was hitting Iran state television there because they don't even want Iran telling their people what's going on in the country there. Remind you too of what Jeffrey Sachs had to say too about who's behind all this attack in the Middle East.
So that is the meaning of deconfliction mechanism.
Well, it's not going to let me play it. This is somebody else is running that live originally, but Jeffrey Sachs did say that it was Jerusalem that was behind General Wesley Clark's overthrowing nations in 5 years, and he said Iran was the last one. Now, this was done at the Antima, I forget the name of it now, but the forum there, and where Jeffrey Sachs really came all out, and that has really just gone viral everywhere. And also, too, I got a message. We'll be doing an interview this evening with Deborah Tavares. I mentioned it briefly through one of my own contacts here as well, that the USS Nimitz will be, as they put it, sacrificed in order to make it to help bring the United States into this war. Now, whether or not that's going to be sacrificed or whether or not Israel will sink that ship and blame it on Iran to galvanize Americans behind this war, that's yet to be seen. But we'll have Deborah Tavares on tonight, earlier on tonight instead of late, to discuss this as well. Also, too, on our Patreon channel, I'll mention this real quick before I go to another clip here, patreon.com/Israeli News Live. I have one of the most powerful messages yet delivered, seeming very simple. It's about the keys of knowledge being hidden by the Pharisees, but it's worse. It's because of this man right here, or excuse me, not that guy. Here we go. This is a Jewish scholar. I won't use the words that they use there. He admits in here the hiding of large amounts of books by the sages, by the Pharisees years ago. He admits it on television in Russia. So you'll definitely want to see that video on Patreon. I'll be loading it. I go into a lot of the in-depth, even some Russian articles that I was able to dig up and find where they expose it, also from the homilies, etc. I went into a lot of that. Just so as I get here near the end, let me share this with you too. Piers Morgan turns on Israel, but I find this interesting what Jimmy Dore has to say, though. It's not because he wanted to, it's because he's being pushed in the corner knowing that this is not going to go well.
So here it is.
Eroding global support rapidly with what is now happening.
So, and he sees global support is eroding. So now he's like, oh, I gotta stop being on the wrong side.
How do you see it?
I agree with you. What this Israeli government is doing is catastrophic. It is a genocide. It's extraordinarily cruel. It's extraordinary.
Now, just a few weeks ago, he would have stopped and said, well, it's not a genocide. And do you condemn Hamas? And that's anti-Semitic. But now the wind is blowing differently. And so he just sits there and lets Jeffrey Sachs say it. What do you want to say, Kurt?
He'd say, he'd go, is it?
Yeah,
That's
he would
what he
say.
said.
Yeah, because even after he finally started condemning the atrocities in Gaza, the genocide in Gaza, which we have condemned even October the 7th, exposing the inside job that Hamas did, that there was no way Hamas could have done this to Israelis. These were innocent Israelis that died at the hand of Hamas, but it was the Israeli government that refused to come to their aid for nearly 8 hours. Don't forget that part either. Forget condemning Hamas. Why don't you condemn Netanyahu for funding Hamas? Billions of dollars in cash so they could attack innocent Israelis that had no clue what was coming on them. And then no doubt they're wondering, where is the Israeli government at to help us when we're dying here? Then they get there, and what do? They start carrying out the Hannibal doctrine and killing all the Israelis right along with Hamas. They want to make sure to get rid of all the witnesses. That's really what it is. Disgusting. I'm Stephen Benoon, though. You're watching Israeli News Live. Again, I want to reiterate, Russia has now admitted that has nuclear weapons, and that the President Putin clearly asked not to use those nuclear weapons against Israel. I don't know if I got the right video up. It's not, well, yeah, I guess I did. It's just finding the right place again. So you've seen it, you've heard it for yourself, and this is the question really comes down: who's going to use the nuke first, Iran or Israel? And Putin has begged Iran not to. Stephen Benoon with Israeli News Live. Don't forget patreon.com/Israeli News Live.